when you take off your hair, it does something to your facial features, makes them pop more. That's I think what the comment was. And I was like, I started noticing that about myself. So it's the advice that I would have is less an advice, more of a reassurance that a lot of the things that you're going to be worried about are either going to become not a worry because you won't spend time thinking about it, or it's going to turn out better than you thought. I never find myself thinking about my angles and what my hair looks like anymore, fixing it. You know, there were times before when I would, run to catch a bus, for example, and then you're in the bus, and then my hair, particularly when it got sweaty, it got all weird and messed up. So I had to then kind of dry it and then fix it again, and now it's just like I'm not even thinking about that anymore. So as the more you start noticing your hair loss, the more you start building up a certain amount of worry about it. And you start thinking to yourself, and you start paying attention, what does it look like? What am I going to cover it up, this and that? And so what's weird not weird, but nice, after you take it off and after the first initial adjustment period of maybe a few weeks, you don't think about it anymore. And you kind of go back to what is the norm for most people, where they don't really care about their hair, or maybe some people do, but not in the way that we used to, not in the way I have to put it this way to cover up the widow's peak here and this, I have to make sure that it's all nicely laid out. So that worry kind of disappears.
Looking good, looking fresh. How's things?
Thank you. It's been a pretty busy few weeks over the past few weeks. Been adapting to this, of course, and
Yeah.
yeah, I had a bit of a few experiments that I did for myself, like in terms of length and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Also, it's been interesting because I've both seen the reactions from people who know me for a long time and new people who've only seen me this way and they don't know what I looked like before.
Talk me through the sort of moment and the initial sort of few days after that. How were you feeling and things like that?
Well, I had already experienced kind of what it felt like in terms of a physical sensation. Um, but I guess I was getting used to it as more of a long-term thing now. So I tried a few head shaves, like clean, just nothing on top. And obviously with that came a few cuts. I tried it with the safety razor. Man, those things are dangerous.
Lethal, yeah. This all technique, those things.
It's like a meditation almost. You gotta take your time so much that yeah. And yeah, so I had a few people tell me that they were like, oh, grow your hair back, that looked nicer. And I was like, yeah, well, this is what I've decided now, and that's what I'm gonna stick with. I've had people that are like, oh yeah, it looks good, and then for me the weirdest personally is meeting new people that don't know any better. So you expect some kind of comment because it's different for you, but it's not different for them because they don't know you. And then it's just like, oh yeah, this is him. This is just how he is. That's normal, I've got guesses. Like the other day, somebody guessed that I was 19.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. So, which I'm 24. So,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I've done a bit of experimenting. I've decided to stick with a buzz cut, and the reason for that is because I find that it works best on top and here, so I can just do everything in one go. Not even think about
Nice. Yeah.
it. Plus, because the way it is with my hair is that if I shave it, you still see the gray, almost like a how do you call it, like a shade still
Yeah.
is there.
Bit of shadow. Yeah.
Exactly. So for me, that was kind of like, okay, well, I can go through all the trouble of doing a full head shave, which it takes quite a while, or I can just do the buzz cut thing, which basically looks almost identical.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with that.
Awesome.
And one of the other things that I've found is that I'm adjusting my ideas of what I want to dress like, and finding that different shirts like this one, for example, is new. Finding that it really matches this look very well.
Yeah.
Much like your jacket right now, it's a pretty similar color. So just stuff like that, where you didn't even think about it before, you just start adapting smallly, with small changes. And you're like, oh, that would look better now because I look different. And I think I talked about this in the last video as well, but now I'm experiencing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's like because this is the thing that I've said before as well. It's it is a change. You know, it is
Yeah,
it's like a reset, a reinvention. You're done with the, you know, the looks you've had up until this point. Yeah, it was
yeah,
working well for you up to a point, and then things started to fall off, right? Things started to not serve you
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
And you got to just hit the line in the sand of the previous me. That look
yeah,
done. How are we moving forward? But how are we
yeah,
moving forward positively? And it sounds like that's what
exactly.
you're going through now, which is awesome. In terms of
Yeah,
the buzz cut, dude, looks brilliant. The buzz cut
thanks.
is such a sweet option because one of the best. It is so simple, like you said.
Yeah.
You've got one length on the head,
Do
on the
everything.
face. Perfect, right? I'm all about
Yeah.
simplicity. Looks
Hmm.
good, clean, and yeah, like you said, discovering new things with dress it, you know, how you dress and things like that.
Hmm.
This isn't, you know, oh, I have to do this now because I've got no hair. It's like I've got no
Yeah,
hair. What can I do to kind of like
exactly.
put it all together, right?
I've had moments where I was like, ah, it would have been nicer to have hair now and stuff like that. But overall, I don't know. I haven't been even giving it that much attention. Yesterday, something interesting happened though. I was walking back. It was pretty late. I was out, and it started raining. And so I was like, well, I don't have to care about this at all anymore because it's just do this and it's gone. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and another interesting development is that I went on a date.
Awesome.
So
Brilliant.
that's
Right.
like
Okay.
yeah, that's like another confirmation in that area that, because you think, oh, I don't have hair anymore. So obviously everybody else is going to see that change. Even subconsciously, you expect that from new people as well, that they're going to treat you differently. Not at all the case, man. I wasn't hugely worried, but it was definitely something that I was thinking about. How is that going to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And it's within it. It's like obviously, like you said, not the biggest worry out there,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
now that because there are guys that
Mhm.
will honestly, and they get told by other guys that it's
Mhm.
impossible, like it's the death sentence for those sort of things, and it just isn't. And I think that's
Nah.
just one of the great things, like you just describing that, and we can see it now in like real time is you just do it, and these little things like that, you tick them off, you know, little tick
Yeah.
boxes, little things that you do. I don't want to use the word achieve because it makes it sound weird, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just proves to yourself like, hey, this is like not the things that I thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
not the bad thing that I thought it was going to be, and all the
Exactly.
things that I wanted to do are still absolutely possible. I mean, it
Mhm.
even sounds daft saying it, right? Like, oh, if I don't have hair, I'm not going to be able to do these things that I want, date, have relationships. But
Mhm.
let's be honest, there are times when when you're losing the hair that you do kind of start to think like that. You know, you
Yeah.
start to really worry and get worked up about it. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear that, you know, once again, once you're on that other side of it, slowly but
Mhm.
surely, when you have these different interactions with people, going on dates, colleagues, new
Yeah.
people that you meet, it just goes once again to reassure you, like, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't the thing that I thought, this terrible thing that I thought it was going to be. So I'm really pleased to hear that, man.
Plus, I'm gonna add to that where I'm at right now, I'm in Bulgaria. I'm half Bulgarian, so I come here quite often to visit friends and family.
Cool.
And having a buzz cut here is a lot more common than maybe in some Western European countries. Um, and you can just walk down the main street here and just see so many couples with dudes that are just like buzz cutted, and nobody bats an eye.
Yeah, yeah,
It just served to enforce that, like, okay, yeah, this is normal. There's nothing particularly out of the ordinary about this. In the beginning, it was obviously a bit more of an adjustment. I was a bit more conscious of it because you also get used to seeing yourself in mirrors and pictures and stuff like that. And it still kind of is an adjustment sometimes. But overall, like after that initial getting used to it, yeah, it's not really on my mind as much. Sometimes when I see like, guys that look great with hair and or friends or like walking down the street or whatever, and I think to myself like, oh, that would have been nice to have. But at the same time, aside from those moments, I never find myself thinking about my angles and what my hair looks like anymore, fixing it. You know, there were times before when I would, run to catch a bus, for example, and then you're in the bus, and then my hair, particularly when it got sweaty, it got all weird and messed up. So I had to like then like kind of dry it and then fix it again. And now it's just like I'm not even thinking about that anymore. So sometimes it comes back as like a it would be nice to have hair now, and it's kind of unfortunate that I don't. But then again, that is maybe on the one hand. On the other hand, it's just like you're never thinking about what does my hair look like, what is this, what is that. You only think about it like 2 to 3 times a week when you're buzz cutting it. That's been my experience so far.
Now,
Yeah.
having gone through this, and I know you spoke about like, um you got to be, do it when you feel like you're ready to do it, and don't be so
Mhm,
hard on yourself
mhm.
if you don't feel like it's the right time and things like that. Obviously, with that advice, and now having gone through it, and maybe if there's some new things that helped you afterwards, or during, or anything like that, is there anything now that you could share
Mhm.
to help guys who haven't quite taken that step yet, or who maybe have taken the step but are still feeling a little bit self-conscious about it, or things like that? Is
Yeah.
there anything else you could share that might be able to help them?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest hesitation comes before you do it and maybe like 2 weeks afterwards. And for me, what was a striking difference is that, as maybe a lot of guys in my position uh, feel as well, that you build up, as the more you start noticing your hair loss, the more you start building up a certain amount of worry about it, and you start thinking to yourself, like, and you start paying attention, like, what does it look like? What am I going to cover it up? This and that. And so, what's weird after you, not weird, but nice after you take it off, and after the first initial adjustment period of maybe a few weeks, you don't think about it anymore, and you kind of go back to what is the norm for most people, where they don't really care about their hair, or maybe some people do, but not in the way that we used to, not in the way like, oh, like I have to put it this way to cover up the widow's peak here, and this, like I have to make sure that it's all nicely laid out. So that worry kind of disappears. All the conventional worries that people have and that I had about dating, about um, is my head gonna look weird? I found that, and I think somebody in the comments on the video also said this, and I was like, thank you. I felt very, very flattered by all the comments. By the way, like it was really very nice to read them. Um, and so basically, when you take off your hair, it does something to your facial features, makes them pop more. That's, I think, what the comment was. And I was like, I started noticing that about myself. So it's the advice that I would have is less an advice, more of a reassurance that a lot of the things that you're going to be worried about are either going to become not a worry because you won't spend time thinking about it, or it's going to turn out better than you thought. You never know, because you might catch, if your worries attracting, a partner, you might catch eyes from a different type of girl that never might have paid attention to your physical appearance before initially. Not saying that it's good or bad, but just saying these are differences that you'll experience. By no way is it um like something that, like you said, is a death sentence.
Yeah.
So
Not.
it's a reassurance with that. And I will say that you might get a few comments your way, like, oh, like it doesn't look that great, you should grow it back, or this and that. In my experience, it's been kind of rare. And also on top of that, I think because I'm so sure of my decision, I think they also feel rare to me because I haven't paid much attention to them. As soon as I hear that, it's like, well, okay, thanks for your opinion, I appreciate that, but you know this is me now. Yeah.
And that's really interesting, because I feel like that comes from a few things, that not that those sorts of comments don't affect you, as
Hmm.
they don't affect you like they don't affect you as they
Hmm.
are intended to, because of your newfound security in yourself
Definitely.
and in the
Definitely.
decision.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it's almost like not a filter for those things, but obviously when you're in an insecure place, and you don't feel good about yourself,
Mhm.
you pay way more attention to those sorts of comments, and you overanalyze them and things like that, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you kind of feel like, no, like I'm doing this for me, it feels right, like I want to feel
Mhm.
good about myself,
Mhm.
they don't get through. They really don't get through like they
Yeah.
used to. So I love that point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not as life altering as you would think it is. So that's it. And if it is, it's mostly going to be in a good way. So yeah, and I've also found that, like, it's just reinforced the point for me that people in your life care that much about your appearance that they wouldn't like you anymore because you took off your hair, then it's kind of a reinforcement of having to know which type of people you want in your life. For example, if my best friends now, they would never do that, but if they were like, "Yeah, we don't like your hair, so we're gonna get rid of you," like, which is obviously ridiculous. But if they did that, then I would be like, "Well, no offense," and I would obviously be a little heartbroken or a lot. But I'd be like, "Well, good riddance," because apparently we're not the right people for each other in each other's lives, you know. So I mean, that sounds a bit harsh, but the general gist of that is rings true, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely gives you more confidence in that way. Yeah, yeah. It's nice to have that peace of mind back. You know, the peace of mind that you're not worrying about this anymore.
Good. Now, Lubo,
And one
that's
thing I want to
go on.
add that I thought about, um, I think that a lot of people when they take off the hair, they think that it's an end to any experimentation that they can do with hairstyles, which is not true. Because depending on how much hair you have left and what you can do with it, what you don't want to do with it, you can still you can still decide. Okay, do I want clean shaven? Do I want a buzz cut? Do I want a slightly longer buzz cut that still looks good but doesn't quite show the patches because it's not that long? Just stuff like that, and not to mention beard length. For me personally, I find that a shorter one I like it because less maintenance and also it highlights the jawline and everything, and it doesn't, that I think that's one of my strengths personally at the moment, so I don't want to hide that too much. So there's still room for experimentation, not to mention that you can change your whole wardrobe to go with it. So yeah, that's what I would say. Don't think that it's like a one trick pony for the rest of your life.
No, dude, Lubo, no, you said it. I'm so happy, man. It's really great to like have this catch up. And
Hmm.
you are, yeah, you've become wise to these things that
Yeah,
not wise, you've now realized them for yourself. You've
yeah,
lived them for yourself. And
yeah.
dude, it's good. I'm really pleased for you, man. It's I really, really hope now that you can just keep moving forward, and it'll just go from strength after strength. It's a pleasure to meet you and see you like go through this journey, and to be able to share that, so that other people can get that confidence too, is just fantastic for me. So thank you so much, man.
It's been awesome.